Hey everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Give everybody a second to sit down. We have a lot of material to cover. Hey Greg, is this plenty loud? I'll lean in. Is that better?
We're the nerds.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to an update to the proposed Clubhouse and Grounds Improvement Program. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dan By. I am our current Field Club of Omaha Board of Directors President. For those that do know me, I'm a little sarcastic, so bear with me. It'll just give me another opportunity for embarrassment as we go along. We do have a lot of information we're going to share tonight, so I'm going to be brief. But before we start, I just want to take a moment to thank all the contributors over the past 5 to 7 years that have helped develop this plan, and all the committee members that really are willing to devote their time to the betterment of Field Club of Omaha. When I first got on the board a few years ago, 2013, we maybe had about a baker's dozen times 2 that were willing to contribute. Now it's 80 pretty consistently in committees, which is awesome. So tonight I'm going to cover kind of the who, what, why, how, and when. We'll cover the process of what information has been used, what we feel is really a great first step solution using the feedback received from our member survey results to address what our members want that keeps Field Club relevant and moving forward strategically and increases your member experience. How we got here with exceptional financial due diligence in the past 8 years for sure. What the financial mechanism may be used to potentially accomplish the improvement program. An update to what is in flight for the golf course and what is around the corner for the pool, and then the next steps in this continued journey. So like I said, the who, what, when, why, and how. For me personally, this truly has been a journey that is a labor of love. I'd like to introduce Bill McMahon, who's with the McMahon Group that has facilitated the past year this engagement to develop this plan. It's taken our member survey feedback and various committee input to develop what we're going to see tonight. And I would ask you one little housekeeping item. We'll take questions and give answers at the end, but we, in the essence of time and all the information, we'd ask you to hold those till the end. Bill? Okay.
Thank you very much, Dan, and wow, nice crowd. And how many do we have on Zoom? Probably another 40 or 50, I hope. And so this has been kind of fun for us. McMahon Group is, I get a little history. We work for about 2,000 clubs all across the country and in Omaha here, in the Viewpoint Omaha Country Club in Happy Hollow. And so I know your city great well and stuff like that. And I love the city. I'm from St. Louis, so I feel like I'm at home here. And I see a river out there just like we have a river. I guess it's one of the same ones that goes through St. Louis. And but our firm and what we were asked to do, and we do this all over the country, is to help clubs like yours when they need facility improvements. I'm an architect by background, but I'm an architect who has sort of income into it from, I've been president of my clubs in St. Louis, which is Bell Reeve, which is had US Opens and all that foolishness. And also my city club and stuff like that. And really it was from that experience of serving like Dan and the different board members here, and I'm sure many of you have served in those positions too, is to help them when they need a facility improvement program to basically understand the club, to involve the membership in that process, to basically develop an overall master plan, and then basically to come back and recommend a project that's affordable, but that fits the long-term goals and the mission of the club. And that's what's happened here. And we're here today, tonight, is to ask you to listen to a presentation. We're going to go through it about an hour or so. I know it's long, but I think it'll be interesting and you get something out of it. And then at the conclusion of the meeting today, you will basically, when you leave, be able to get a brochure on the project. So you don't have to take any notes, everything will be basically in here. And then in the next 2 days, we will be putting out to the entire membership this brochure basically online with an opinion questionnaire to go with it. And so there's no voting tonight. What it is, this is informational to bring you up to speed as to what's being proposed. What does it cost? What is it going to cost you? What are the benefits of this program? And then we're going to ask you to fill out this little opinion questionnaire, which is like a straw poll and really asking you that the committee has done their work. We were the architects, and that's the fun part, but they did the work really, and the board basically has reviewed it, endorsed it, and that's why we're allowed to propose it to you. But the idea is to get your input. Are we on the right track? Is this what you want? Does this make sense to you? And we expect to get that survey back around the middle of May. And then based upon what you say as a membership, the plan could have some revisions. It could have additions or subtractions and things like that. But the end result would be sometime around the first part of June, there will be a proposal put out to the membership for voting. So this is informational tonight. And as Dan mentioned, hold your questions if you can, but we're here as long as you need us to answer them afterwards. And the booklet's going out to everybody, and you're going to get your survey, and we're going to report those results back after on the 13th of May back to you again. So you'll pretty well know very openly as to what's being proposed, how it's being funded, and that you've had input into this program, and then that's when the voting would take place. So there's a lot of good things happening. Obviously, your golf course is under some renovation now, which is great, which you always have to continue to reinvest in. And your swimming pool area, right, there's construction going on right behind me. And so this club is kind of unique in the concept. You're ahead of the game. You're really doing things. You should know that the entire club industry, and we work at any one time with about 50 clubs all over the country. It's unbelievable what's happened in the club world from the viewpoint of members using clubs, members playing golf, members outside doing things. The pandemic, we thought it was the end of the world in 2020. It ended up going exactly 180 degrees the other way. Tremendous expansion. People really value clubs, and it provides something very special for you. So that's kind of the background. What I want to do is just see if my machine will work here.
I'd have to push this way, Bill. Maybe here.
Let me think. I might have pressed the wrong one here. I need help.
Let's see if I can
Imagine it's this,
right? Here comes management.
Okay. What is that noise?
I was going down the hallway and I heard that.
This is Greg, always pulling my leg here. Look at you. Yeah, very good shape. Okay. So here we are. Basically, our purpose today and tonight and in the next 2 weeks is basically to explain that our facility needs as a club. To basically explain the clubhouse and surrounding areas, which is what this program is primarily about. The pool and the golf course or other projects that are already underway. I want to explain basically the cost and funding of the project, which is always important. As I said, I want to get your input for the survey. And then basically to update, we're going to have a little update at the end of the program on where we stand with the golf course and with the pool area. We've had a lot of people involved. These are committees of 12. Pat basically was co-chair of the strategic planning committee with Dan, obviously, as president, ex officio of everything. A lot of great help coming from this group. This is really their plan. As an architect, we work for them. We bring ideas to the table. We show things that could be done. We show how to finance and things like that. But basically, your members have cared enough to do it. Our finance committee with Tom and Denny have been important, and Denny's going to give a presentation on our financing package, which is very good and very sound. So obviously finance is important. The board of directors have basically endorsed the program, allowed us to present it to you. They feel it's important for the club to have this kind of program, but it's important for you to give us your input on the program. Our role as a company, as I kind of told you, we've been doing this for 39 years. And have worked on almost a little over 2,000 club rate, about $3.5 billion in club money in that period. But we're really approaching clubs from a business side. How do we please members so that we get more members and more usage? That's what makes great clubs. And so that's McMahon's role. And we've had help, obviously, from contractors and architects here in town, too. So, well, we will not be your final architect. That's not our role. Our role is to help in this business aspect of facilities funding to basically get a project approved by the membership. Our mission is important. This is who we are, what do we provide, what quality level, what makes us unique in the marketplace. And this is one of the oldest clubs in the country, right? At least in Nebraska, Omaha, that whole area. You've got something, you know, my club in St. Louis, I think, was around 1890 also, and you're the 1899 or something like that.
We have 125 years next year.
125 years, you know, so I feel like I'm getting that old pretty soon, you know? I've been doing this for so long, but I love doing it. Anyway, our mission is kind of important, and I'm going to read it only because I think it is. Everything we do should make this happen, and we shouldn't be doing it. And the issue here is that obviously our Field Club of Omaha serves the greater Midtown community as the friendliest, best valued, inclusive club providing social camaraderie, recreation, and lasting memories for members and their families in the heart of the city. We're all about families. We're all about creating a special place, a special commitment to the community. This is a unique place and that you want to maintain. Our vision is more aspirational. And what it is that as the original private club in Nebraska, basically, Field Club has an unmistakable sense of community and belonging. We gather basically in an urban environment where we honor tradition and build memories with our entire membership family. Obviously, the club is foremost a place where fellowship, business relationships are made one experience at a time. These are good issues, good statements to follow. In looking at our mission and vision, obviously, we want to create something unique in the clubs in this marketplace, and we have something unique. And not only do you have the best value, but you also have, from an architectural view, I'm pretty impressed with the facilities here as what you have and what you get for the money. It's a bargain, you know, and you should value that, and that's really one of our uniquenesses in the marketplace. We have a superior golf experience that's getting better. We have family aquatic centers that are getting better. We need some improvements to the clubhouse, and that's really why we're here. And we're not talking about earth-shattering things, but just some strategic things that would really add more to your pleasure and enjoyment, you and your family. We want to basically have those basic close friendships that are created by a club. My 3 best friends in life came from my club, you know, and that's what happened. And it never would have happened without the club. We know it's important to have these personal and networking relationships, not only in business, but our families. One of my sons married a girl basically from the club that we were. So they're critical for our life expectancy, you know, what we do and what we get out of life. Health and well-being is important in the club world today. And what we provide here, obviously, is remarkable value. In looking at our 5-year revenue growth, this is really interesting. I'm not going to go through all these numbers, but I'll start at the bottom. From 2017, if anyone's listening online, 2007, I think my little pointer is not a little there. You know, we were at 244 golfing membership, and now we're at our cap of 350, you know, in that 5-year period. You know, basically 387 was our social, and we're at our cap of 450, which is outstanding. Now, you should know, though, this is pretty typical with clubs all across the country today. After the 2 years of pandemic, people have really valued clubs. And it's great. And so they're making investments in their facility to keep them in first-class condition. If I go all the way over to here, you can see we were 673 members in 2017, we're 894, over 200 membership growth, which is spectacular. That also has terrific financial benefits for you too, that you can afford things with 200 more members that you couldn't do before, just with the dues level alone. And looking at our membership survey results that were done, this kind of shows this was what was most important to you, the members, and this is important to look at. Obviously, the golf course was important to 93% of respondents. Pool facilities, 84%. That's why those 2 projects are proceeding already. And the next one, of course, the third one down is the restaurant, which is the clubhouse, important to 72% of the members. So we have, obviously, here's the swim team down here, the swim down there is an activity of 65%. So you can see we always want to watch what's most important to you and make the investments in those areas that support that. Here in the survey, they basically tested the results, which would be the most important improvements. And the ones that get the highest numbers, which are over here to the right, renovation of the pool basically was number 1 in importance. Dining areas improvements, number 2. Expanded outdoor dining, number 3. Clubhouse aesthetics, basically at 5.2, number 4. And you don't see golf here because luckily you've been making that wise investment in golf. You've been reinvesting in it. That's what you have to do in clubs. If you don't make that investment first, when I'm on the board of Bell Reed, we never even voted on golf improvement. They just did it. And I'm being a regular building architect. I got to get down on my knees and beg them to do something for the house committee, which was mine, you know. And that's just the way clubs are, everybody. In looking at the master planning process, which is the one of, before we would propose projects, we needed to look at the entire club from a facility viewpoint and lay out a long-range plan, about a 10 to 15-year plan, so that whatever we build today, we would anticipate what's going to come tomorrow, so we don't build something in the wrong location or do something that didn't make sense. And so the master planning process is important. It provided basically a long-range roadmap basically for improving facilities, including the golf course. We could identify the highest priority clubhouse improvements that are affordable within a financial structure that we could afford. Fortunately, with 200 more members, it makes it infinitely easier than if you didn't have them, of course. We're looking basically at a master plan is never meant to be built all at one time. It's to be done in phases as affordability is there. And so we have to develop with this program we're recommending to you and proposing a program that fits within a financial strain, and Denny's going to explain that in a bit, as that we can afford it so we can take the first phase of improvements for the master plan that we have. And our benefits that we hope to get out of this, obviously, is identifying effective solutions to problems or things that would make your life here much more enjoyable for you and your children. We basically want to make sure that we aren't, that I have clubs that tend to love to just continually build things and tear it out and tear it out. And obviously avoid that, what we would call a lot of waste in construction. We want to have a consistent quality level of what the club's all about and stuff like that. And we want an orderly and cost-effective, basically, facilities management system. Not only in the operation of energy and all that, but also with Greg and stuff, is a building that's efficient to operate with our wait staff and our kitchens and stuff like that. Because otherwise, I have clubs that'll put in 2 or 3 kitchens and then have a disaster trying to run it, and their food costs go out of control, or their labor costs go out of control. So the building has a lot to do with, tell us what kind of a club you want, and the building really helps you achieve that type of club, at not only to well serve you, but also to do it efficiently. And looking at, there she is. And looking at our master plan goals, obviously, was to basically have a consensus on our facility needs, to increase value and relevance to you with the club facility, to keep with our club traditions, and to improve and align facilities to make it the family-centric club of choice in Omaha. And at that special niche that you have, and you want to maintain that. Our process, obviously, we had operational committee input in all areas, membership survey initiated, focus groups held. This is to get you input so that you were telling us what you wanted so we could plan it accordingly. The committee recommended different changes in those focus groups and surveys. We have the financing committee has the hard job of robbing the bank, to make all this work, everybody. And that's a big balancing act. Here's the cost, here's the benefit. Can we keep it within a reasonable limit? And I believe they've done that in a very good way here. Obviously, with the board supporting us, obviously participating in the planning and with things like that, but basically allowing us with their support to present the plan to you today and for the next couple of weeks, and then ultimately to bring it to a vote, either first by a survey and then by a membership itself. These are just some slides we say that this is the club of the future. Interestingly enough, the field club, these aren't your pictures, but you're here. These are your pictures in the context of what you're accomplishing with basically good outdoor dining, which is the one up here, good pool area and stuff like that. We'll have that new splash pad area, obviously great golf. You're going to see what we're proposing in the programs and simulators areas and stuff like that for people, and a good wellness fitness program. So that while I can show this everywhere in the country, you are basically in the field club accomplishing every one of these. And we're trying to enhance that situation with this project that we're proposing to you. In looking at our improvement program, let's talk a little bit about, obviously, the areas we try to address in our program here with the family and co-ed casual dining areas. We want the snack bar kitchen capacity to be expanded. We need some restrooms down near that facility, pool area, pool dining addressed, clubhouse interior repurposing of space. I think you'll be excited about what we're doing, and provide some golfer patio basically space, outdoor space, which is important today. Ever since the pandemic, outdoor dining, even in the middle of winter. I remember I'm doing projects up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's cold up there. We had to eat outside in parkas and stuff like that. But that's, so I mean, we've taken it to the nth degree, but outdoor dining and stuff is not going to go away. It is popular in both your city and mine, and something that's worth having. And so here we are in our dining area that we have today, which is attractive, but it's not where you need to be and what we're trying to do. And you'll see in a moment what we're proposing in here. Obviously, with our pool dining space outside there, we're going to have improvements, which we'll be doing here. Here's this pool snack bar facility, both the inside of it and the outside. This is the pool, kind of the 19th hole area, with the pool area in the background there for dining. And so what we're looking at and what we're proposing to you, and I'm going to show you architecturally what that is on the main floor, we have expanded indoor and outdoor casual dining and a new bar that's indoor outdoor. And we'll have expanded, we're going to connect the outdoor deck all the way around the building so that you can come around and stuff like that. So right now you can't do that. So it'll connect all the way out to this deck right here. The cry room is being relocated into the men's locker room in the lower level. We're reconfiguring the golf shop and offices so that we can have a simulator room and kind of a group area where we can get together as a club, whether it's a coffee house or a Starbucks or things like that. You'll see, I think the simulator thing is spectacular and it's giving us winter golf. You know, so wait till you see what happens. I have a lot of clubs that have put in one, then they put in two, now they put in three. It is a great experience and a lot of fun. And those games and those machines that you get that you play with are not just for golf. There's all kinds of other games you can play with. You can have parties for kids, Christmas, you know, or their birthday parties. So there's a lot of things for a family-centric club. We have a golf emphasis, but we also have a family emphasis that's important. And then we have basically the Lucy Lounge relocated into the women's locker room. And looking at, here's the site plan that I have before you, and I know those of you who are online, I'll try and talk you through that a little bit as to what it is. But obviously, I think it's west is up, isn't it? Yeah. And north is to the right. And so here's our clubhouse, and we're really not adding much space. We're putting a little bit of an addition right here. I think the cry room today is in that location. We expanded that, and you'll see why. And then we're expanding that deck all the way along, because there's the golf course here, here's the swimming pool, here's the parking area in this location, the street's right here, and the streets down here. So we're basically working with the space we have, and we're adding an outdoor patio space here for golf after golf use. And we're also doing some 19th hole type of pool area dining down here, similar to what you have, but adding much more capacity, adding restrooms down there, making it a much better. It's a great idea what you're doing here and stuff like that, but we just don't have enough space to make it work properly, and that we're addressing with the program. As you look at this is the main floor of the clubhouse. We're sitting right back here in our existing ballroom space right here. My back's to the wall right here. The swimming pool's right behind it. And you have a good plan here in the concept in club design, and that is, I call it the donut hole. And by that I mean the kitchen is the donut hole and all the dining is around it. Kitchens don't need good views, but kitchens need direct access into dining areas, and they need to be serviced from underneath. And that's what happens here. It works extremely well. So you got a good plan. Whoever the original architect was, he did a good job. But what we're trying to do with that is to expand that casual dining both inside and outside. And so we took cry rooms here today. It's being relocated into a part of the men's locker room. We're putting a new bar in this area here. So we're opening up this whole dining area that I had a picture of earlier today, putting a fireplace between a casual dining side and the bar grill side. Having this bar basically serve into the room or outdoor in this location on this outdoor dining deck facing the golf course. And so you can see, so this is basically what we're doing in the plan, creating that dining area that's so popular, and it's probably the biggest weakness the clubhouse has today. You know, out in the summertime you can eat outdoors, and that's great. But in the winter and cold weather, you don't have dining here other than this room. And so and this is for your parties and things like that. So you can see we're creating, I think, some nice spaces in that area. And then here's a little kind of a blow up of that space. So you kind of see again, here's the entrance coming into the club, kitchen's in the center, and here's the fireplace. So we have kind of a casual dining style here. We have a bar grill style here. And this would be, so if you want a little more of a lively bar area and the activity, you're going to be on this side. If you want a little more casual, quiet dining type of space, you'll be on the left-hand side of the fireplace. And the cry room is being relocated into this space right here. So that, and then the outdoor dining deck becomes that swing space for outdoor use off of all the space that we have. So it works, I think, extremely well. This is a view looking from the golf course back. And so the way I was talking here, the outdoor, what we call bar area that's being created is right up here, and we're extending the deck area across to the banquet side over here. And this little area right here is the expanded space. It's basically holding that new bar on the main floor that we're on today, and the simulator room down below underneath it. So that's just that little bump we're adding on the building on 2 stories is the new space. This is basically on the upper floor, basically, and here's that little dining, here's that little bar space that I showed you, the new bar. This is the new addition, probably from this column out. It's not a big addition here, but we get a big access to the thing. So this becomes extremely popular space to use on the outdoor. This is a view looking inside what we call the grill. There's the fireplace I was talking about. Most of the space right in here is now the cry room space that's here today, being converted into, here's the bar, here's the outdoor area that I was showing you with the golf course to the west in that location. Now, just so you know, beams and ceilings and flare chairs and tables and chandeliers, all those things are conceptual, okay? We're saying it's going to be traditional. Ultimately, what will be the final design will come out of the architects and the interior designers, but we're basically saying this is the kind of area that we're got. It's a traditional feel with an indoor-outdoor space so that you have really a lot of flexibility in use of the area. This is now the lower floor of the clubhouse. And if you come in from the bottom of the screen and you're up above, you're entering the club, coming down and you see these two stairs here. These are the stairs coming from upstairs down to this level. Ladies' locker room basically in this area with Lucy's lounge in this area. Right now, this is not here, and we're building this, and this is holding basically the 3 simulators, kind of a multi-function space in here where people can gather, watch people play, have some fun together, get together, kind of a hub like a Starbucks and stuff like that, things like that. The golf shop today is right here, and we're turning that basically 90 degrees so that we can get from those stairs a straight shot back out. Otherwise, we'd be having to do kind of a zigzag through it. And the idea here is that we create a lot of winter, year-round activity in the clubhouse. We get a nice golf shop in that location. And then over here is on this lower levels where we expand the kitchen area and the bar space is there, adding restrooms down there, and then also providing an outdoor area for dining, as well as a 19th hole with some fire pits in that area. So it's real strategic in what we're doing, but I think lots of benefits compared to what it is today. This is basically a blow up of that same space, so you can kind of see, here's a little bit of the restrooms over here on the far left in the 19th hole. But this shows a little bit bigger deal on the simulator. We expect this to be a very popular area, not only for the pros to give lessons to people on there, but these are places when we have a bar in there, everybody. Bars are important. And you have a lot more fun with a bar, right? And so the idea is you can see this is going to be a real activity area it could be for children and stuff, but primarily adults with the games and stuff like that would be played in that area. But that corridor today would basically be going through that, what is that, that kind of empty room down there, the meeting room that I see different things in there every time I come into the club. And this is it's a little bit faint blowing up here, but this is a view of that room, of that here's the nets and the 3 simulators in this location. And this is basically that step down a little bit so we need enough height to swing a club. And by doing that, we need a little bit of ramp area and stuff, but this will be kind of that social area. And this is where people can kind of watch people hit, do games and things like that. So you can play your own course, you can play Pebble Beach, you can do whatever. You'll have a lot of fun with it, I tell you. Everybody else is doing it in the country. And looking at on the far right side here and stuff like that we have up above, you can kind of see where there's excuse me, let me grab that again. That outdoor dining area basically coming in off of down some steps from that bar space here to what we call an after golf type of place, hangout place. Umbrellas and things, fire pits and things like that can happen. So it gives you some flexibility. Our site work is the 19th hole space near the pool space, the new restrooms down there, and the mid-level golf patio. This is again a blow up of that space downstairs that you can kind of get a feel for what's happening. But see, right here is where the existing bar is today. We're expanding it out here, adding a bar around that space to have a cover over it and stuff like that. Here's the restrooms, and here's our 19th hole type of space. You can see kind of interesting, and here's an architectural view, kind of a bird's eye, bird flying over the golf course. We get this view, see? So, which I think it kind of gives you a feel for it. It really blends in. This is a new addition over the bar space there, so you can expand the deck up above that space while we have that area down. So it'd be quite attractive for the club. And again, building on that outdoor dimension that is important. On some general issues that we have, our kind of time schedule as to what would happen. Here we are today on April 26th. Next 2 days, we're going to mail out the booklet to everybody with an opinion questionnaire. And that's what that is. You'll have a link in the booklet. You'll click on that. It's all coming online. If people need it in paper, we'll provide it for you. But the idea is you click online, the survey comes up, you fill it out, click it, it comes back to McMahon's office. We basically, at that point, will tabulate the results and publish them and send them back to the board and then to the entire membership. So around the 13th of May, 13th, 14th, 15th of May, you'll have a pretty good feel how everybody feels about the issues that are there. It's interesting, just so you know, the survey's anonymous, but not to McMahon. We don't know who you are and stuff like that. But the reason is we have to make sure we don't get double voting. Not that anybody would ever do that, and stuff like that. But we have to make sure of that so someone doesn't challenge us, in that regard. So this is our program on April 26th today. May 13th, we'll have the surveys back. And by first part of June, or maybe a little earlier, we would expect to have a proposed project that you like with a vote to the membership, and have that vote basically concluded sometime mid part of June. And so that's kind of our start. The construction of these projects will probably not happen until the fall of 23. In other words, here we are coming into the summer of 22, but there's a lot of stuff that has to happen. Architects have to get drawing, permits have to be issued, financing has to be resolved and all that. So we could start earlier perhaps, but we're allowing ourselves a little bit of time here to get the project ready. In the meantime, we are finishing though the projects for the swimming pool, obviously, and the golf course. So we don't want to have the whole clubhouse, the whole club under construction. You have to kind of phase it so you can, digest it and not basically shut down everything. In looking at what's going to happen in the voting process, when this would be in what we would call late May and through the early part of June. That process basically is that obviously your input will come through the opinion questionnaire, which is the second bullet here. Ballots will be sent out around the first part of June. Allow a couple of weeks basically for ballot return, maybe 3, we'll see how that goes. Changes to that plan may occur if you come back with some changes that you want to do something, meaning the majority of you. We have time to make those changes. It's not that big an issue. We have costs, we know where we are. Just so you know, 10% of eligible voters constitute a quorum, and we need 51% of those. Now just get ready. Usually see between 70 and 80% of a membership. When there's this kind of a project with a cost to it, 75 to 80% of a membership will vote. 25 to 20% or so will not. I don't know why. You can't get them. But basically, so while that 10% is a legal issue in your bylaws in effect, you're going to have considerably more than that. And it takes a 51% vote to get it through. Most of the time we're looking, and that's what we're looking for in the survey we're doing. We want more than a 51%. And so we're finding out if you have an issue or something, we're going to try and address that issue and change it so that we could do it before we go for a vote, so that we're pretty much together on it. Obviously, the results of the voting and stuff would be sent to the membership within, as soon as we can get them back out to you before the end of June. And looking at temporary construction or temporary facilities during construction, that's always a challenge. Fortunately, we'll be in a position where the pool and the golf course is completed, but we'll be phasing the project as we take out certain dining areas. This room will probably have some multi-use to it. Fortunately, we're not having to move the kitchen. So our production center, which is the most difficult thing to do, will stay intact. And so we'll be moving dining areas around as we do things, or we'll be outside in our dining areas like behind us here or on the deck area here to basically work around it. So I don't expect a lot of real inconvenience in this period. There will be a little change and stuff like that, but I think usually the problem is we can't keep the members out of the construction. Everybody wants to see it, be a part of it, and that's fine and all that, but there's obviously safety issues that are important. So that's kind of our game plan during construction. That will basically, once we get a low bid contractor and doing it, the contractor will have a lot to say too on what kind of timing they would, because a lot of times if you let them have a little timing issue that works with them, they'll save you money. Because it's more efficient for them to build it in a certain way. So we always want to listen to our contractor and see if we can get a little better deal. And looking at obviously opinion survey, I talked to you about that. It's pretty straightforward. You'll see that in tomorrow when you get your information, and then just fill it out, and then we'll obviously play it back for you. Now, Denny. I always give him the hard part. He's good at this stuff. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, yeah. Most important thing I found out about this stand is it goes up and it goes down. Let's talk finance with a twist. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Denny Wiederholt. I'm co-chair of the finance committee with Tom Sliceman and a number of other folks that have really been extremely helpful in developing the financing for this program. And I also want to do a shout out to two people. I don't know if they're here tonight. Well, I know one is Justin Grunhofer, is a former board member in the CPA with Land and Associates. And he was instrumental in helping us do 7, 8, 9 year projections. I don't know, I lost track of how many times we did those. All necessary as we've been meeting with our banker to get this thing put together. And the other one I would ask that you keep in your thoughts and prayers is Mike Emsick. Mike has been very helpful with us on the architecture side with BVH, the original Clubhouse designer, and they've been engaged to proceed forward with doing some initial design work on this project. So with that, a little history. These first couple of slides will be how we get to where we're even talking about tonight. One of the most important things is the compound annual growth rate of the club. The club achieved full financial stability in 2017. That's when I got asked to be treasurer because they would trust me at that point. But you can see the growth we've had since then. And this growth has continued post-pandemic. And I think the other thing that most of the members know that all the clubs in the Omaha area are full. And as Bill pointed out, nationally, that trend line continues. So we're in a good spot from the growth side. Financing history, you can see the revenue focus on that. Greg and I have a side bet on golf rounds post-pandemic. Look at the jump between 16 and 21. That's going to level out a bit. We're expecting revenues this year to be in the $5.6, $5.7 million range. So you can see from 2011, 11 years later, we've more than doubled where we're at on revenue. Then here is a little bit of history on our assessments we've done. 2015, $300 for HVAC. We're still working on that. And 2007, the Veranda and Snack Bar, $900 assessment done. We got some boards now out there that are the same all the way around. That's pretty good. And then 1993 is when we built this clubhouse. For those of you that weren't here, the old clubhouse was termite infested and was falling down. And then that's the assessment at that time. Here's the other key thing. In operations, we've invested $4 million just from our dues back into the club. So all these projects that you've seen going on over the last several years has come from your due structure. So very few assessments. And we're at a point in time where we got to look at a full membership and say the clubhouse is too small. So major maintenance capital, we'll call it. Parking lot resurfacing, men's locker room, bunker renovation, $425,000. Clubhouse HVAC replacement, new roof, new siding, $675,000. 2018 to 2020, the windows and doors. I don't know if you guys remember, but Sunday brunch was usually you'd wear a sweater or a parka going through the food line because the wind be blowing through the windows so bad. That's a value engineering proposition for when the clubhouse was first built. So we outlived it. So golf course equipment investments, all sorts of stuff going on there. $825,000. Strategic capital. 2018, we put in the 19th hole. There was a lot of discussion at that point in time whether that would be a good investment. I would say it's been an excellent investment. Upper parking lot expansion last year, $225,000. These next two items are the projects that are in process right now, and these numbers are still in the process of getting solidified. The golf course phase 1 plan is pretty well solid. Pool renovation is still a little bit up in the air, but we're pretty comfortable with the numbers as you see them. And we've been budgeting in contingencies as well. So the projected cost for the clubhouse, snack bar 19th hole is $5 million. Then debt from projects in process is the 875 I just showed you, and the 2.4 million. Interest and all that is 9,110,000. You see we've got 10 to 15% in contingencies. Now, we've had a plethora of different ways to look at how to do this and keep our membership happy. So to expedite improvements and deliver to members, we looked at mortgages, redirection of operational dues, an assessment, and then a new idea came up with a capital dues program. Industry best practice is to combine the first two with some version of member funding, assessment or capital dues, to fund aspirational capital projects. And when we use the word aspirational, we're looking at 5 to 15 years, not an operational add-on in terms of service life. So in essence, we're rebuilding Clubhouse. It's 28 years old. Okay, so the projects we funded be a mix of replacement of the semi-annual food minimum with a capital dues program. That's applicable to golf and social memberships, and bank fund financing. So you can see the sources of capital monies from the capital dues program, $4,032,000. Bank financing is $5,078,000. You'll see this number pop back up, so we get familiar with it, $9,110,000. Then the use of the monies, $4 million on the clubhouse, snack bar 19, $12 million, and then phase 1, phase 2, that's in phase 1 of the golf course and the pool renovation that's underway right now. This one is a fairly detailed slide. Greg went overboard. No, he didn't. It's a very important slide. So replacement of the semi-annual food minimum with a capital dues program. Existing $300 semi-annual food minimum would be eliminated. Why are we doing that? What did we find out? Well, in our industry surveys, data was coming back, and also with some assistance from McMahon, we're seeing a trend. Clubs are moving away from minimums. So we said, why don't we redeploy that type of dues structure into something that's we could then classify as a monthly capital dues program. So in other words, instead of starting out with a big assessment, and then who knows if that's going to work out, get our costs lined up so we see where that's coming out, and then come up with a dues structure that is more palatable on a monthly basis. So on the breakdown is this: for golf members, it's $60 a month, and for social members, it's $55 a month. And then the food minimum goes away. This is a renewable 7-year term, okay? It can be extended if future needs arise, but membership feedback would be requested. What that means is, just like the process we're doing tonight, and with the survey and the vote, that will be taking place very shortly. So anytime we do something in the future along these lines, this is kind of the framework we would like to have the club educated on and proceed on. If approved, this new capital dues program would start with the July 31st, 2022 billing statement and run through June of 2029. So the project starts in November of 23. So we're working out with our banking relationship is that we want to pre-fund some of those obligations in the form of dues, so they're available when we start in 2023. We have monies available to hit the road running. And again, that project is estimated to only be 6 months. Point of interest, we made a big thing about this at our fiscal year end. The club was debt free. I think in I was talking to Dan before the meeting, I think in 2013, we had like 2.9 million in debt. So through your dues and good fiscal management, we got that down to nothing. We're drawing on credit lines now to do the golf course and the pool improvements. So the financing was to provide us maximum flexibility to draw on a loan during construction. That's this pre-funding we're doing now, sets the table, then the bank will disperse loans as those draws are necessary. Amortize the loan no longer than 20 years, and that's subject to adjustment based upon the economics that are in effect at that time or in the future. I think another thing that's really important here is we don't want to penalize future generations with unnecessary obligations. And allows the club to respond to latest membership desires with strategic investment instead of sporadic jokes. I guess what I would say is clubs starting to move away from, oh my God, we got to do this maintenance project, i.e. a pool expense last year, because we haven't done it. Now we're moving in a new direction where we have strategic investment and we're also budgeting in operations maintenance capital. So that's the discipline that the club has risen to. And lock in the lowest rate, and rates right now are moving up. Our key assumptions: no major change in membership is forecasted. Some attrition is expected and is included in our modeling. Membership losses are replaced by current wait list. This was as of last Thursday, I believe. 30 in golf and 75 in social. So we see this trend going on for the foreseeable future. Key assumptions: this is kind of the amortization of the debt over a period of time. You can see after 20 years, it's down to nothing for this program. And the target, that $6 million annual revenue target limit, again, working with McMahon, that was information we gleaned from their expertise of saying, how much can you finance? How much would you put out there? And that was their advice coming back from their database, which was really good to have with 2,000 clubs they've done work for. Then at the bottom of that slide, you'll see the annual maintenance capital budget is $350,000. The club paid a firm last year that came in and did a maintenance capital assessment of the club, and that's what we're utilizing to develop that number, what we're going to need for when a pipe blows or that kind of expenditure. Clubs are measured on return on investment, not on return on investment, return on equity. So you can see our equity, the gold, the brown line rising in a number of those years and all the way through 2029. And that's my presentation.
Excellent, excellent. He knows money, you know. I'm an architect, that kind of a guy I could learn a lot from. Right. Anyway, here's just some questions, I think, and then we're ready, almost ready to answer. Greg's going to come up and give a little preview of our kind of report on where we are on golf and on the, you know, the pool for project. But these are just, how can we be sure of the cost? That's always an issue. We did the original estimate, McMahon does, but we always have to have local contractors verify the numbers, and that's been done here. So that we have, now, it's like anything, bidding in this world today is really interesting, you know, and that's calmed down a little bit from what it was during the pandemic. But basically, we've had cost confirmation that as good as we can tell, we're in good shape here. Will the bank lend us the money? As Denny said, yes. Obviously, they're waiting for the membership to approve something before they can actually do something. But it looks like financing is doable. The nice thing about banks today is they seem to have plenty of money and they want to invest it in us. Interest rates are rising a little, as we know, but not precipitously to the point that would make our projects unfeasible. So that's why I'm saying it all across the country, record activity, even clubs, and doesn't seem much a problem in paying it back. How does the facility opinion survey work? I think I covered that, but the idea is after this meeting and tomorrow, you will get your online questionnaire, you will get your online brochure, just this. Of course, we want you to take it home tonight too, though. And then you'll click on the link there and you'll be able to complete the questionnaire. If you have any questions, call the club office. Oh, that's me. So that obviously, if you have anything, questions about things, I think we pretty well have explained everything. You'll find it, everything we presented here tonight on the screen. We're basically have it in verbal format so you can read it in your living room. Many of you people at home will basically haven't had the benefit of this program. I believe we'll be able to really understand it pretty well and looking at it. Another question is, what if too many members leave? And that doesn't seem to happen anymore, and here's the reason why. Because we do the opinion questionnaire, and we listen to you, and the members say that they don't want this or they don't want that, and enough of you say that, we basically take those things out of the project. So that the idea is that it's already been kind of, the opinion questionnaire has actually had first vote. And then at that point, we take that into account. So by the time we actually bring it back to you as a membership, you've already told us if you take these things out, or sometimes, believe it or not, you got to put something in. But in any event, it shows that the building or the proposal is responsive to your needs. Who will be running the project once it's approved by you? And that's usually done by a design and construction committee. We had 12 people on the planning committee in developing it, and 12 people, I think, on the board, and then about 5 or 6 on finance. Finance actually, with Dennis and Tom, have to finalize loans and things like that. But you'll have usually a small, what we call design and construction committee, and that's basically developer people that understand construction, a little bit of contractor work, a lawyer, people who understand legal side. They would basically administer the project, but with a project manager working and controlling the project. And I think Greg will probably have a lot to do too, and because he loves this stuff. And the last one is, how does the project relate to the golf and swimming projects? And what I showed you is that those projects, by the time this project starts, and I'm going to say in the fall of 23, those projects will be long completed, and we'll have a good workout on how we'll handle temporary facilities during that period. As I said, because we don't have to change the kitchen, and the kitchen is there, we'll always have some little improvements to it. But the kitchen is a production center. Obviously, we get our second kitchen downstairs done and stuff like that for the 19th hole. So we'll be in good shape without too much interruption. Now, my friend, get over here, Ray. He's going to explain these projects that I think are quite interesting. Here you go.
Thank you. I get the easy part. I get to talk about all the stuff that we want to do. I'm going to stand up here and talk about the stuff that we're currently doing, so that's exciting. Update on the golf course. So our golf course is architect CE Golf Design out of Kansas City, and then Landscapes Unlimited golf course contractor there, headquartered out of Lincoln. For those maybe that watch TV, Landscapes Unlimited works on Augusta National. It's a relatively popular golf tournament that's held in April, called the Masters. So pretty good within these two. A lot of expertise. It makes our superintendent Nick and my job a heck of a lot easier. No different than the gentlemen that have been up here with me before. So golf course improvements that we have done already, done last fall. Got a new putting green, warm-up hitting bays, new green. We got some pictures here coming. Lengthening of the third hole, I've got some good information and updates on both bullet 2 and 3 on timeline, because I know that's what everybody really wants to hear. Significant drainage, bunkering, and car path improvements. That's really how we got started on this whole deal. So as you look at these pictures here as we fly through, so we've got, this is top of the reservoir. You never really know how stressed you are until you see a jackhammer on top of a 250 million gallon water reservoir that services the entire Omaha community. I was there. We thought we had about 6 or 8 inches of dirt. We had 16, so that was better. And we worked with MUD, so we worked with MUD on that. That is their land. And we worked to be able to build that. I don't know that we did it, anybody now is any grand master planner, but I'm not really sure why we didn't have cart paths up there before, but we've got them now. So in significantly better shape, and we can start to see here. So this is a picture from about 2 weeks ago. You know, I feel like 2 years ago, this would have been February 15th, but because winter won't ever let us go this year, here we are in mid-April, and it's still going, but it looks, everything is really looking good up there. Down on 2 and 11, We have an internal $1 bet if we don't call the new holes the way that they are routed. Those holes, we owe each other $1. I think I currently owe Kevin about 7 dinners at the Drover because I can't figure that out. But so you've got old number 2, new number 11 on the left-hand side, new number 2, old number 11 on the right side here. You can start to see some of the major work that's going on, start to see the bunkers that are shaping out. And then last, this was, again, maybe about a week ago that we took this picture. So I don't know if anybody has been in the back left bunker on 2 yet. I would love to hear your experience. However, the back part of that is significantly easier to play. Timelines for these, because I know that's really the only reason that you even came tonight. The tee boxes on 3, I got the report today. Those will open on Saturday. Most everyone in this room has already played from them anyway, so I don't know why we haven't been using them before. I'm looking at you, Jeff. The greens for both the putting green and then the new number 2 green, don't owe you $1 there. Those greens, Memorial Day weekend, and they've been aerated once. They will be aerated again with a full pull core here in the next week or so if we can get some warmer soil temps, but they are really, really healthy and in great shape. Work done in the fall. We've got new tee complexes going for 14 and 15. Significant drainage bunkering, same stuff we always talk about. It's the fancy stuff. It's the real reason we ever got into the project. Post Labor Day. So this picture, so that's 15. If you start to see here, this is 15 green. The reason I took this, you got 14 in the pavilion down here. There's a lot of work done on 14. When you stand on the new 14 tee box, you will be able to see the green, the entire green, whereas right now you can't see for sure the front half of that green, if not more than that, depending on where you're at on the tee box. The other part, anybody who's been on the right side of 15 during a windstorm can hear all those cottonwood trees start to shake a little bit. Yeah, those, they've passed their prime. They need to come down, and it's more of a safety hazard for us, or becoming more of that. It's, knock on wood, it's not going to blow down anytime soon. But when we get to the fall, those cottonwood trees need to come down, and as part of that, that hole becomes a little bit easier. So while we were doing some of this work, we felt like, you know what, we need to protect the integrity of this golf hole because it's only 260 yards. So we've got 4 bunkers that'll come across here, makes it a risk-reward drivable par 4 there. Now that you don't have the corner to be able to cut. Keep going here. All right. Update on the swimming pool improvement work. Anybody in here wants to take over that project, it's yours. Just talk to me anytime. The pool is it was built in 1927, and I feel like it has demons from 1627. The designer on this is JEO. They're a leading pool design firm. They've done a really, really nice job with a really, really old pool. MCL Construction is our construction partner. So spring improvements that we're working on right now, you probably see it out there. We've got paving of the grass. I know there are some anti-grass people. I know there are also some people that are pro-grass. Depending on just identify which group you're in whenever you come and talk to me. That way we can know to start with. We've got a raised deck, 6 cabanas. Those will be available for a reservation. You'll start to see some info come out on those here over the next couple weeks. They're really nice. They got TVs, they got fans, they got shade, they got a whole bunch of furniture. They're really cool. And the best part, there's no fee for them. So there is a minimum that we're going to ask you to spend when you reserve them, but our goal here is not to rip everyone off. Improved lighting and electrical charging stations throughout the deck. That'll be probably the biggest improvement is that when you go by the clubhouse, the music that comes off the clubhouse won't be deafening to the point where you can't hear yourself think. The hope is to be able to spread some of that music across. Fall of 22, so we've got a new baby pool that's going in. It was cheaper for us to clean it out and start over than it was to renovate it. So you'll start to see some of this. I think there's a big blow up of the baby pool itself, but you can start to see these cabanas down here on the south side. This is really coming into shape. And then more umbrella tables. Those are the most utilized thing on our deck. Start to see the entry point over here. Check-in stand moves closer a little bit. Same pump house, same main pool. For those that are wondering, If we would have had to replace the main pool, you basically start at 4 or 5 million and you work yourself up. So that's why we did a geotech on that main pool. And one of the great things about it is they don't build them like they used to, but in 1927, they built it really, really well. So knock on wood, the main pool is in really, really good shape. You start to see a view here from the veranda, gets into kind of as we look south. And then here is your baby pool, which is really family focused, gets back to our family oriented focus that Bill has been talking about today. So slide, you know, all this fancy stuff at 0 depth over to the other side. And then again, I go back. It is cheaper to replace it than it was to renovate it. And probably for those who are super interested, it is a split filtration system. So those poor kids that always have the issues in the baby pool, we won't have to shut down the main pool for it. It's exciting. It's really exciting. It makes my job a lot easier. All right. So with this, I have the great pleasure of turning it back over to our board president, Mr. Bai, who is going to take our questions as we get into the evening.
We have 6 minutes.
Hey, we got 6 minutes. No, we got through that really well. So all of us are available. Denny is available. Bill is available. Dan and I. Dan's going to kind of quarterback this as we get questions. Audrey is around the room with a microphone. I understand everybody is going to stand up and say, I can just yell. I have a really loud voice. I would appreciate if you could wait for the microphone for the courtesy of those that are joining us via Zoom. I think we're well over 50 on there now. And so for them to be able to hear the questions, and then we'll also take questions via Zoom, either in the chat box or just send a note that is being monitored. Lizzie's taking care of that. So without further ado, Mr. Bai.
Before we jump into questions and answers, a couple things I do want to cover. So when I was first asked to join the board, vote, or actually throw my name in the board, it was 2012. And at that time, Phil Palmer said to me, hey, you'd be really great for this. I promptly lost, mind you. And I was foolish enough to go for a second attempt. But what drove me to do that was Phil had told me the story of some of the short-term decisions that continued to happen that I thought I could really help and influence going forward. And for those of you that haven't heard this story, I know there's a few that have. We have a light post out on one tee box. We moved it across the street, and then someone said, what happens if we start hitting balls down the 8th fairway? So we moved it right back. Those are some of the short-term decisions that had occurred in periods of time where we spent money. So a lot of the decisions that are really being presented here are long-term strategic thought process decisions. The group that's involved in this, the committees, those are representing you. We have 80 people right now on committees that represent you, the members. And they come through in a process that's really relatively controlled. And when I say relatively, it's they're taking your ideas, they're bringing them forward in their committees, and then they come to the board. They also go to finance for, can we do this? So these aren't some type of conversations that are fraught with someone's agenda. So I just want to put that to bed in terms of what we presented here. These are your ideas. This is your club. At the end of the day, we're here to do the best we can for long-term strategic thought process to keep the club viable, vibrant, and long-term strategic thinking in urban Omaha, which is an awesome environment right now. I live in Morton Meadows, and I love this area. So that having been said, we'll open it up to question and answers, and I'll be kind of pointing to some of the people that have been part of this to give the answers if I don't know the answer.
Okay, sorry, I have a question. So, hey, the guy that was just doing the presentation, he looks like Lee Simmons from the zoo, and he sounds like Warren Buffett, just FYI. So my question is, it looks like the capital improvement program is about $9 million, but the debt that they were coming up with was about $4 million less than that, about 5.1. So I'm just curious where the other $4 million is coming from.
So I'm going to repeat your question, then I'm going to hand it off. Okay, so you're asking from what we've represented debt-wise, it's 9.1 million, and what we'll be utilizing within the bank is about 5 million in terms of what we're servicing debt-wise. So I'm going to turn that over to Denny to answer that question.
Let's see, I remember a prof I had once that said, do the math No, that's not right. The answer to your question is, we will be financing $9.11 million. Part of that's being done right now through credit lines that we already have in place with the bank. So ultimately, over time, the membership has to pay that debt down. So that's, when you see $5 million for the clubhouse piece, that's a component of it. Then you would add to it the $2.4 million for the pool, the $875,000 for the golf course renovation projects, and then there's another $832,000 of interest that would be done on top of that. It gets confusing because when you look at the slides, you're looking at, okay, members are doing this amount, and then there's the debt at the bank, but both of them are key parts of the financial relationship with the bank.
Denny, can you speak to the use or the sources as well? Because I guess Gil, I just want to identify his point. 5 million of it is coming on the club's debt structure. The other 4 million is coming from the capital dues program,
That's
which is
correct.
member funded.
That's correct.
That answer your question, Gil?
Yes, thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Dan.
Sorry, I know Greg's scared. My only question is actually, it looked like the pool had been completely sandblasted down so that we are starting over with new paint. Is that correct?
I don't think I can repeat that question, but Greg, could you answer that question?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. I don't know that I want to, but I'll answer it. So getting to the point, I guess probably the main point of your question is blue paint going to be on everybody's swim trunks this summer? The question is that more than likely, yes, it still will be. And the reason is because we sandblasted the pool and we painted it up to a certain point, because in the fall, as part of our plan this fall, there will be a new gutter system that the top 16 inches of the pool gets cut off. And so in lieu of paying them to sandblast and repaint, and it's very labor intensive, that gutter, to repaint it, to the tune of like $60,000 for the top 16 inches, that didn't seem like a very viable financial move. And so we repainted it with the same paint that we had. And the hope is that we're allowing it a little more time to cure. If you noticed, it got done a lot earlier. That was very much by design. Our hope is to be able to fill the pool next week. For some reason, I have this feeling that we're going to go from 50 degrees to 90 degrees with nothing in the middle. And we're going to be prepared for it. And so to answer your question directly, yes, the top half of the pool is still the same paint. But one of the nice parts is I can guarantee that won't be the case next year. Take that to the bank, and I should have just said that and shut up.
Greg, to follow that up, you said the top half of the pool is going to be worked on. I'm here swimming every day, you know, and we lose water constantly in the pool, and the heater does not work well with the amount of water that's coming into the pool. Have you addressed that, and is this construction that you're talking about taking off the top of the pool, will that address those two issues?
So I want to make sure I heard the question, that addressing the water that goes out on a daily basis,
Yes,
the heat, as within the confines of our construction plan.
correct.
So last year we replaced about 99% of the pool heater. It just took a long time to replace it because it's one of those things you got to replace this and you got to replace something else. And by the middle of June, we had it figured out, but by that time it was 100 degrees. We were just slow to get started with our warm temps last year. Feel confident that the heater is going to be in a good spot. We've done all of the necessary maintenance work over it this winter. The other part is I'm starting the pool next week because I want to make sure if I get to that point, I have time to be able to fix the heater before we really need it. The heater itself, I feel very confident is going to be in good shape. As it relates to the water loss, that's a big part of why we even started the pool project to begin with. For those that don't know, we lose anywhere between 6 and 7 feet of water a day. We have a 233,000 gallon pool. 6 to 7 feet, that is a lot of water. And most all of it has to do with, it does not come out of the pool itself. It comes out of the drains and out of the supply that come out of our pump house. If you've had the unfortunate ability to be in our pump house and walk in there, you will see that it is a muddy mess pit. And that is because water comes seeping in from the sides because of all the cracks in our supply pipe. We are addressing that in the fall. I can't sit here and tell you that it's going to be a perfect level and we'll never have to add water. Kids still do cannonballs and water still flies out. But I have the utmost faith that the design that we have in the pool, which I think is really, really well done. And I would like to think as we stand up here and highlight these golf course and pool projects, that gives our membership confidence that when we talk about these clubhouse projects, that they will be done well. I would feel like a good portion of what we've done here over the last 10 years, we talked about 2.9 million in debt 10 years ago. We also talked about $4 million in capital improvements. Those overlap. We have no debt, so we've paid from 2.9 down, but we've also expended $4 million improvements. We're very financially sound and very financially, we have good strategy when it comes to those. And so we want to make the right decisions. And then at times, I mean, one of the decisions that we looked at is, can we get this clubhouse done quicker so we can turn that around for members? It's not the best decision for us. We need to make sure that we design the right solutions. The pool is a good example of that. We were hoping that we would have the pool completely done for this year. It just wasn't in the cards for us. We want to make sure that we design this and build it the right way so that we don't have to go back and rebuild it over time. That answer your question, Carl? Yeah, so
repeat his question.
Yeah, so the question is that what are we doing specifically to ensure that the pool itself is not going to lose money and cost money and continue to relate it to pumps and mechanicals? As part of the pool budget, the entire mechanical system for the entire pool is completely replaced. When we got started with this, to give you an idea of that $2.4 million budget, $1.5 million of it is mechanicals. My concern was that going to the board and saying, hey, we need to spend $1.5 million on mechanicals. Okay, what is the membership going to get out of that? Well, they get $1.5 million of nice mechanicals. There's nothing there to be able to sell from a, quote unquote, shiny product standpoint. And that's how, from there, we started to look, what are the items that we can add that are going to be able to help solve some of those issues along the way. $1.5 million goes a long, $1.5 million goes a long way in a pool. Completely new gutter, that's all of your supply piping, all new pumps, variable drive pumps. I'm going to trade you microphones. Everything within the pump house itself is all brand new, including the filters, including the pumps. Stacy, good luck with that microphone.
Right, that was really good to hand it off. So I like the idea of eliminating the assessment for food. However, you didn't really discuss the revenue that the restaurants bring in to talk about how important a bar is. So you eliminate that food minimum. How do you ensure that the kitchen is still utilized to the level it is now, that we don't lose the revenue that comes in as a result of that food and beverage minimum?
So I want to make sure, how are we ensuring that food in the kitchen is still delivering at the same service level, and how we're not losing some of that revenue level?
So the revenue itself, I mean, the revenue that you're garnering from that program is from people that aren't coming. And you could say, I mean, temper this because it can be used against me. Those are the people that don't use the club, and you send them a bill and they see that and they immediately start to wonder, well, I'm a member of a club that I don't ever go to or I don't ever use. The reality is the majority of those members, they just drink more than they eat. And so they don't get credit for all their drinking, and they don't ever grab a burger on their way out. And so to answer your question, I think that the revenues are going to go up significantly because the facilities are a lot more attractive. I think within what we're trying to be able to identify, and we've done a really good job up until this point, but it's an evolving process, is how do we make sure that we service these members? Because you've got a lot better facility within what's going on there. And the other part is that everybody in this room is gonna look at me and go, Greg, I'm paying for this. And when I come up here, I don't wanna have a bad experience. And I would like to think that we continue to evolve our service levels, but that challenge is always going to be there. The service is so fickle, it's so relative. And as much as we can do it 9 times in a row, if that 10th time's a bad one, you're gonna remember that for the next 50. And so, and I know, because I think I've talked to everyone in this room about their one experience. It's and some more than others, I get that. But yeah, I think our biggest thing is that we wanna be cognizant of making sure that we get people here in facilities that they wanna be a part of.
Let me just kind of help you here a little bit too, that when you see the kind of dining improvements that we're doing here, we typically see, and this isn't just McMahon projects, but there's a 30% increase in a la carte sales. Because look how much more attractive it is, look how much more capacity we have, look how much, you'll see that, and that gives you that capability. I always say when I was in my clubs, I've always been house share, you don't have to force people to eat the food if it's good and it's an attractive area and your friends are here. So that 30% is a real number, and it happens all the time, so that helped you.
Just along those lines, I'm wondering about the weddings and banquets and that revenue that it seems to me there's not going to be a lot of places for them to be. So is that all factored into lost revenue during this time? And how long will that be, do we presume?
So Leslie, I want to make sure, outside revenue from non-member events, you're concerned about what the potential impact could be in the availability when we're in construction.
Right.
So our revenue in member and non-member banquets in this room is really the front door of the club. It introduces our neighborhood club to a lot of people that don't know that it's here. It's a good outlet for us to do a lot of marketing and a lot of face time. You don't necessarily need to do a whole lot of that when you got a lengthy multi-year wait list as well. And not that we don't have to cultivate our future members as part of that. But the other part is we've taken that into consideration, part of that slide, and I know there's a ton of information on some of those slides, and I wholeheartedly own all of that. I'm trying to get as much information. I think most everyone in this room that knows anything about me, I try to be as transparent as I possibly can. There's no hidden agenda in any capacity, but we took our event budget for the entire construction period and just took it to zero. Not to say we wouldn't have some events, and we may work out an operations plan that will ultimately be decided upon by the board, but we just took it to zero from a financial ramification standpoint and then ran those formulas throughout. And so we're a member organization first and foremost. Banquets are a big part of who we are and how we get introduced to people. But I think the key part as we go through our clubhouse renovation will be making sure that our members are first and foremost on our minds.
And so what amount of time do we think, like weddings, if I should have time?
There are a lot of people that are wondering about that question.
Wow, dang.
So
I'll take the under.
Yeah, so I'll go with the timeline. So we picked November as the optimal time frame for those. I'm going to assume there's more in this room that have been paying for weddings than have been getting married. The key time to get married this time of year, or I guess in today's world, is September, October. Is it me and like this microphone? I think it's a sign. September and October is the key wedding months. And we need to get our footings in the ground in that northwest corner of the clubhouse to be able to get it done. We feel like we can, for the most part, looking at the construction schedule and timeline, we can have use of our mixed grill further into that time frame. It's not going to be a November 1 cut. But as we look at it, we went November through June and just said, hey, we're not going to do any events because we need to have the spaces available. But like I said, that's going to be something, we got a lot of time to work through that as our construction schedule comes through. Answer your question. I'll be Mr. Jackson.
What's the status of the future phases of the golf master plan?
Well, John, you know that the course is near and dear to me as well. So those phases were really generated prior to us stepping into this next adventure. But the reality is, you know, once we go down this path, it may be delayed for about 5 years before the next phase starts. And that's just kind of how it is right now, understanding the current environment. And I do want you guys to know, Greg sent me an email, said that he wouldn't talk much, so he's already violated that.
You spoke to him several times.
No, I just grabbed it.
He came up here to rescue me.
Yeah. Doesn't jump.
All right, this is my question. In the future clubhouse plan and for next summer, will there be an easy way for golfers to transition from golfing to pool to the pool deck?
So I want to repeat the question. After the renovation is done, will there be an easier way to transition from golf to pool? And then what was the third one? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the pool deck.
To the pool deck.
Last year, because we had bad people, the golfers had a long trip to go to the pool, and a lot of us just didn't do it. But, you know, golf members are members of the pool area too. So I was just wondering if there would be more than one entry point to the pool, or if they've talked about badges or markers or.
Yeah, so what she's saying, and I can say this because there isn't any quote unquote bad people in the room or on Zoom. What she's referring to is that's where all the delinquent members go in when they don't pay their bill. And that's why we lock it and we don't want it to go through. And the other part is I'm too fiscally responsible to staff someone there that's going to sit on their phone, and then every member's going to come up and go, Greg, all the staff members, all they do is sit on their phone the whole time. And so, so we don't staff that. However, if I can get confirmation that everybody in this room is supportive to everything that has been projected tonight, I would be okay staffing that. I can find some money in our operating budget. Coco, to answer your question directly, our plan is to staff that full time, specifically because the entire area down there, that's why there's an after golf patio up top, that all comes part of the pool. It's an adult area of the pool. And so it's meant to be a fire pit patio that's elevated. And so the entire, because you have to have a fence around a pool, that entire area becomes fenced in. You have an access for golfers to be able to get, you know, a 6-pack of beer before they go out. However, there's a gate right there. We will staff that full time so that after golfers have finished, they can enter the pool through that side. Yes, that's a pain point. I might do as long as everybody in here. No, I'm just kidding. That is something we are going to do for sure.
On the information that will come out to the members, I'm assuming there'll be some financial information in there. Maybe I'd like to see some cash flow, historical cash flow, and projected cash flow, just to see what happens with this new project. So it may be in there already, but if you include some, I think it would help. All right.
He wants cash flow projections.
So part of the information is within the pamphlet itself, and we'd like to take that as a follow-up if we could. And that's on future revenue type questions. And I think what you're asking really about what the future looks like at a cash flow
Just
level.
see the cash flow impact,
Yep.
historical, and then the impact of the new project.
Absolutely.
I have several members on my phone that are asking this question, so I'm going to relay it to you. What happened with the fitness center, or are they looking to expand that in any capacity?
So the question is what happened with the fitness center?
I didn't even raise my hand. I didn't even put my hand out for that one. He just passed it right over. Really what it comes down to is that from a fitness center standpoint, we just don't have the space. It's not the biggest priority right now. We looked at that really, really heavily. I know it's been part of previous plans that we've looked at, and we feel like for the desires of the membership and the spaces that we have, the plan that we put out really answers and check marks a lot of those top boxes. We understand fitness is a part of that. As Bill referenced earlier, this is part of hopefully a plan that we can get back to, no different than the golf course plan, where we have additional phases. There are additional phases for the clubhouse plan as well. I'll give you a hint, it goes north. But to be able to get there, we've got to start somewhere. And I think the funding proposal that we have and the budgets that we have, those are within our financial realm right now. Anything more than that, I think it would be a little bit, starting to get a little risky or irresponsible. But it's part of it. Current facility stays, and I'll build upon Bill's statement earlier about that kind of that Goodman pub. It's a multi-function room. The vision that we have for it is in the morning, it's going to push all the tables and chairs to the side. You're going to have a little bit more fitness programming with it. We've got yoga now. I don't think having HIIT classes, not that I'm a big HIIT fitness center guy, but it's a big part of clubs and a big part of activity. We build community here, but do more programming in the middle, or programming in the morning, and then transition it more to an F&B outlet in the afternoon. I think that space has a lot of multi-function to it. And in those pictures, you'll start to see, I just want to call out in that space, you see golf in the near view, you see a group of kids watching a movie in one of them. And then over on the side, you start to see the dining side and a dartboard up against the side. It's more of a pub atmosphere. That's what it's designed to be. Questions on Zooms? Lizzie, you're gonna have to take that microphone. Are you okay with that?
No. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. Okay, what are the top 3 benefits members will receive outside of the summer, aka golf and pool months? What are we getting for the rest of the year?
Welcome to management.
Top 3 things you get outside of the summer season. I got that part. What's the second part? I'm trying to prioritize these 3. That's where I came from. And I'm long-winded. This could take a while. Top 3.
And
let me hit on the top 3 and then you can figure out how that other one's going to work. Top 3 that I would go through, and I'll just rank these from a priority standpoint. Within the clubhouse improvement plan, you're going to have a sports bar concept that's a co-ed dining facility for members to be able to go to. I think that would be really key for a lot of members. Sporting, you got booths in this plan, you got family atmosphere in that capacity, more bar seating that kind of attracts your couples, and then you got your tables throughout, you got TVs all the way around it. That's number 1. Number 2 is that Goodman pub on the lower level, a good place to have a burger and a beer, be able to have kids' birthday parties, throw tables down. We can do March Madness watch parties on those simulators, and then obviously, I mean, no doubt, you have a year-round access for golf on that lower level. And then the last part, I think that's going to be undervalued, and hopefully not after this comment, our best views are to the west with the sunsets and the addition of those patios. Specifically, one of the biggest weaknesses of our facility is we lose this great veranda whenever we have an event in this ballroom because we can't service it. And so being able to connect those and have it from a member dining access standpoint will be huge. So there's your top 3. Second part of the question?
you answered it, so we're good. The second question is, will we ever have tennis courts a part of our master plan?
All right, so good question. So tennis courts are part of the long range plan. It's definitely an identified need. However, it's not an identified level of importance right now for what we're trying to achieve first. There are certain phases of the golf course that we need to get through to be able to create the space. We have 80 acres, 85 acres, I think, total, when you include the clubhouse grounds. What is the best use of those 85 acres? Right now, we have 3 primary amenities: golf, pool, dining. Tennis is an additional amenity. It's just right now, what is the best use for our 85 acres? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that tennis is not in those top 3, It's just that right now it has not been a focus of the club for 125 years, and we've gotten to this point. So it's something that's definitely on our radar, but not in the plan currently. 5 years is what Dan would say.
I was just curious and hope that the golf simulators will be available for all social and clubhouse members' use down in there and not just restricted to golf members?
Yeah, from a simulator perspective, the intention is it's all access. It's not just golf specific. There's been multiple items we've talked about that show all other uses. And I think Greg could probably expand upon that a little bit more, but I'm not going to get my
On another note, a hot, I will say, issue, albeit not very important to what maybe we're dealing with here today, but for my voting knowledge, do I understand from what I heard and what I've heard leading up to this, the men's locker room, the men's showers, and the men's restroom is going to stay where it is?
Correct.
The men's cry room is going to be downstairs? Okay.
No, the men's locker room is staying upstairs, so that was the first part of your question. And where the men's cry room is being relocated, and there are going to be some reconfiguring of the existing men's locker room and consume some of that space. That's the new location for the men's cry room.
Dan, when you say new location.
So if you think about where the cry room is now, go directly to the east, and there'll be some locker room reconfiguration.
Oh, so we won't have to walk downstairs with our towel in our.
No.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people that will be disappointed in that.
It's pretty much frowned upon, Joe, for to go downstairs with just a towel.
Thank you, that answers my question.
So first, I'd like to thank the gentleman from St. Louis for coming tonight. I think the presentation was great. It was very professional. To piggyback on what the gentleman over here said, it would be nice to see revenues. I'm a former banker. I like to see expenses. So like I work in the net industry, so net income is better than revenue. We can see those numbers. I think that would be great in those financial performances. So increasing revenues are wonderful, but you can also have increasing expenses with those, which can hide. One comment that I have to say to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Joe said is what I saw was, I did take notes, by the way, superior golf experience. Having a men's cry room, a sufficient men's cry room, is part of that golf experience for me. It's one of the reasons I really like this club. It's one of the reasons that I stay with this club. And I think there's an estimated square footage on that sign, although I cannot read it from here. Can you tell me what that number is? 400. Can you illustrate what 400 square foot looks like? Well, can you illustrate it here in this real life example? I don't know. I was just asking for an estimate.
It's roughly about 89% of the existing space.
Okay. How much? I'm sorry?
89% of the existing cry room.
It's 89% of the existing cry room.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. The other question I would have is, so again, in looking at the downstairs part of it, has it ever been considered to maybe expand the footprint that you have at the maintenance shed and move the carts from underneath the clubhouse out to a maintenance shed or to a shed over there where that is, and then tow them in on a daily basis? And then that would also give you an opportunity to use increased square footage down in the basement. Has that ever been considered? Is that even a possibility?
I know that's one thing that we looked at early on in my tenure. You don't have HVAC, and it's all cinder block wall on the lower level. The renovation costs of it are pretty expensive. And then the operating costs associated with towing from a staff side standpoint is pretty significant, more than you would expect. And then I'm gonna go back to the liability associated with it, towing those across the road, and going, but at the same time, it's certainly an option that we've looked at. One of the other options that we looked at, getting back to tennis over here, I know that was a question. We looked at using some space down there to be able to create tennis courts. So we've looked at a lot of different avenues. That lower level, from a cart standpoint, it's actually ideal. It is operationally. And the last part I'll make on the financial side of it, the booklet does not have cash flows in it. It's 4 pages of funding, and I think that's probably overdone for a lot of people. As it relates to specific questions, I'm an open book. We have, I don't think Denny called out exactly how many. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or 30 analysis that we've run as to what those numbers look like. And then the other part too is we're not for profit. And so that's maybe makes us a little unique, especially when we get to bank financing, because at the end, I'm trying to match my revenues with my expenses, because any quote unquote profit that we have goes right in back to expanding parking, improving cart pass, things like that. And so it's hard when everybody says, they open up the books, Greg, you don't have a bottom line. We do have a bottom line, we just spend it all because we want to kick it back and increase the improvements. But as it relates to when you get the booklet, if you have any questions, please reach out. That's the number one question, or number one point we want to come across. There's a website that's created, fcomasterplan.com. It's linked on our website, it has all of these plans to it. So
I'll be very brief. I know you said that. My question is mainly about the kitchen space, because anybody that's been in our kitchen here knows it's moved. So what you're doing downstairs for the kitchen area, is that going to relieve relieve a lot of what the issues are for the kitchen upstairs, and what kind of, any kind of renovations up in the kitchen?
So Les, I'm going to repeat your question, because the kitchen space up here is very efficient. That's my selling point. But you're right. It's the kitchen that we're renovating down by the pool going to be able to alleviate some of the issues with the kitchen. Is that kind of what you're asking?
And I do think that it's efficient. It's very small.
Very, very small.
Very small up here. So.
The kitchen space downstairs is not intended to serve the areas upstairs. They are intended to serve the snack bar in a better way, to be able to provide more options from a menu standpoint, more fresh options as well. The main floor kitchen will be, I don't want to say redesigned, but looked at from a strategic standpoint as to, we have a little bit of waste, we feel like, in certain areas, especially from a storage standpoint, where maybe we can get a little bit better. Certainly, we're going to have more seats. Our expectation is we're going to have a lot more diners with the spaces that we have, especially on nice evenings like tonight. Outdoor dining will be even better. And I think there's some more efficient technologies that we can use to be able to make ourselves a little bit better. So without going to the every night we have a buffet option, we have strategies we feel like are going to be able to solve some of those pressures.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here. No, I've been trying for many years to give Bloody Marys as part of the food minimum, but I guess I won't have to keep pushing that. But overall, you guys have done a great job. I'm pleasantly surprised with the financing piece, and I appreciate all the hard work that everybody's put into this.
Thank you, Teresa. Just as a closing comment, Bill's going to come up and cover the process again on the survey. That is definitely the mechanism for any type of questions that were missed in this opportunity. And really thank you a lot for coming up here and being a part of this presentation to the membership.
Just one little last word. When you leave, you have one of these. They're outside on the table as you come out before the front door. So that will help you, and I think with the explanation we've given in here, that's good. In the next day or two, depending upon getting everything out, but our goal is to get it out tomorrow, you will have a version of this book online. You will have a link, and click on the link, and basically you'll get the questionnaire. Read the booklet first, please, so that you understand it. And encourage your fellow members to do the same thing. It's basically one per household. Fill out the questionnaire and send it in as soon as you can. We'll also be sending reminders out because, we're trying to get as many people to respond to this as we can. But just please spread the word to your fellow members. Please fill it out yourself. If you have questions, talk to Greg, talk to board members, whatever. Obviously, we're here to help you in that regard, and do it as quick as you can so we can move forward. So, Mr. President, thank you all very much. I love working for you too, okay?
Thank you again for coming.